Hello and welcome to Unacademy. I welcome you to the third session of our NCERT series where we are covering the new history of arts NEP books, which are quite interesting when it comes to the coverage, when it comes to the topics itself, but we are surveying them from a UPSC perspective. Today, we'll be doing the last Kriti, which is the 8th class. And in the next session, we'll be discussing Madhurima, which is quite extensive and has a lot of information about history of arts. This book also is more complex, obviously, than 6th and 7th, but has some good information for us for the examination generally. And in this session, you will see you can actually review and revise everything related to art and culture through this NCERT itself. Now, if you want the PPT of this NCERT, you will find it in this Telegram group. And there is a very important offer which is live right now, which is the triple treat offer where you get this lowest price 16,999 with you can say double or the extension 6 plus 6, 9 plus 9, 12 plus 12, and 18 plus 18 with CSE Assure. You have to use the code IS English so as to be unlocking these prices on our platform itself. So I hope that you have now made up your mind if you want to give your attempt or now you want to start your preparation. If that is the case, now is the time to do it. And you can use the code IS English to unlock these prizes. Now, 6th, 7th, 8th. The pattern is similar. How? Because again, if you look at the contents page, you will find theater, music, dance, visual arts. Visual arts has made a comeback after the first book itself. And there is some valuable information here in dances and some valuable information here in theater. For example, there is mention to first, whenever there's a text or a personality mentioned, I'm telling you that we have the mention of Abhinav Gupta, who lived in Kashmir, 10th, 11th century, who wrote a commentary on the Natya Shastra. And this commentary is actually considered very important. Therefore, his name is important. The content is very, very important, which is called the Navrasa. Now, at the same point of time, this chapter gives us a whole plethora of terminologies. Terms are very, very important here because first they talk about the different type of scripts which can be there in theater forms. So you have the ancient term for writers is Dushya Kavya, visible poetry. And in the Natya Shastra, different type of dramas are actually talked about. And here you have to understand the type of scripts which are mentioned within this chapter. For example, all these terms are now important for the examination. They can not ask you the meaning. Maybe they can just quote this to you and say, what is it related to? And that is where it becomes important. So therefore, we have the Nataka, the Prakarana, the Bhana, the Prasasana, the Dima, Vyoga, the Samavarkara, Anka, the you can see here the Thangra and Vithi. And the idea is very simple that what they mean is not important to us. What we know is that they're related to scripts and theater forms. But Nataka is, for example, 5 to 10 acts. The Prakarna is 10 acts, up to 10 acts. Bhana is invented plot and one act play. Prahasana is one act play based on humor and happy context. Dima is popular story based on 4 acts. Vyoga is based on traditional heroic stories, non-comical. You have Samavakara, which is 3 to 4 acts traditional stories. Ankha, which is one play act composed primarily for the Karuna Rasa. Then you have Iharmagra, which is basically 4 acts mixed popular stories, and Vithi, which is one act, 2 to 3 characters performing at any location. Again, this part per se you will not be able to remember for the examination, but please note these terms down because they can just list them in the examination and say what are they related to, what is it related to. So important slide for us in that regard. Moving forward, when it comes to playwriters, two playwriters are talked about. Other than obviously Bhasa and Kalidasa, this came in prelims examination. That what is Bhasa related to? Straightforward answer, which is playwriter. But Kalidas, again known for his poetry and for his drama. Bhartendu Harishchandra and his Andher Nagari Chaupat Raja, very important, you can say, drama which he wrote, which is performed till today. His name is given 1850, Varanasi, and Hindi literature. Then you have T.P. Kailasam, Karnataka 1884, very well known in Kannada and English playwright. Both are mentioned in that regard, and his main important title is also mentioned. Again, important personalities can be asked in the context of match the following in the examination. Then, much like the 7th class NCERT, we have a list of instruments and their states. So again, this becomes important. I'll just go through them once for you, but basically having them in one place is going to help you again for any term based question or question where there is basically something related to match the following with instruments. You have Hagle, which is Gujarat, Karnataka. The Udukai, Tamil Nadu. Please mind my pronunciation. Then Madal and Mandar, which is Bihar and Jharkhand. You have the Tumba Kanari, which is Jammu and Kashmir. Khnida, which is Kerala. Nagada, which is Rajasthan. Pung, which is Manipur. Khol, which is east and northeast or east of India. Then you have the Panchmukhi Vaidya, which is five different, you can say, percussion devices together. Haryana, southern states, and you have the Anand Lagri Gopi Jatra or Gapchu, which is Assam, West Bengal, and Odisha. Now, it would seem to be overwhelming, but the point is that even having basic understanding once have gone through in this session also, if you can get the 2 marks which are available through just going through this session once or going through this PPT once, it is worth it. You cannot obviously remember so many things. It's not worth it. Also, the ROI is also not worth it. But now all of this information is available in the NCERT. Therefore, it is fertile information for UPSC to ask, and they have a justification to ask it also. Then, within the concept of music, there is mention to Bhakti and Sufism, or Sufi and Bhakti songs itself. Here there's reference to Kirtan and Bhajan, which is a part of the second wave of Bhakti movement, which happens after South India. And the book talks about Mirabai, Tulsidas, Haridas, Purandardasa, and Kanakadas. You should remember their names. Now, knowing their basic context is equally important because they are mentioned in the NCERT directly. Similarly, Moinuddin Chishti, Baba Farid is mentioned. Moinuddin Chishti's disciple Nizamuddin Aulia, or Baba Farid's disciple Nizamuddin Aulia, direct disciple. Amir Khusro, same dargah or rather khanka in which Qawwali was developed. Important, the art form is mentioned, the origin is mentioned, some people are mentioned. All become relevant for the examination. I hope by this session you understand what is the pattern in which we are going through. I don't want you to rote learn everything. I want you to survey this NCERT with me. You have to skip and skim with me, and let's just survey what is important. Note down the important terminologies I've told you from this session in one space. Keep it with you. Add it to your art and culture repository or to the courseware or to Nitin Singhania, whatever you're referring to. Then this is valuable information because this will help us in mains examination. Why? Because in mains we need examples. So, how monuments express music is a standard question which can be asked in different forms. And they are giving us examples of monuments which have musical representation. For example, Chennakeshwara Temple, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Gwalior Fort in Madhya Pradesh, and Sun Temple, Konark, all have representation of musical instruments. But what is even more interesting is it gives examples of spaces which exist with musical pillars. This again can become an individual question with the question which has come in 2026 with regards to which of the following temples has a Nagara style shikhar. They can ask you which of the following has musical pillars. So you have the Vijaya Vithala temple, Hampi, Karnataka, 56 pillars making musical notes. You have the Airava, Tereshwar temple in Darushuram in Tamil Nadu. Here there's a stone staircase which produces different notes. Then you have the Padmanaswamy temple in Tiruvananthapuram in Kerala, which again has carved pillars which make noises. So you have all these temples given here also. And these are very good examples which can be used in the mains examination for our understanding in order to make sure that you basically are able to write this as examples, or these questions can directly come. Which of the following temples have musical pillars? Now with 2026 anything and everything is under vogue, but why not go through this once and remember it and note it down? will help you. If you visited these temples, you should talk about it in the comment section and let me know that if yes, you have visited these temples and seen these features also. Then again, a mains level understanding can be used in essay. The idea that how music and climate change are in a way interrelated and how music is helping to manage or mitigate climate change itself. We know that global warming is happening, though they refer to the Namami Gange song which is available online, but they talk about clean Ganga movement, clean Ganga project, and how music can help spread awareness about climate change. So this can be used as a way of an example on how we can use culture as a way of mitigation in climate change itself. Then, moving to the dance chapter, we have a direct trivia and three very important personalities mentioned, which we've mentioned previously also. We have Natya Shastra, Bharta Muni, 5th century BC, oldest treatise of dance and drama. It is added to the memory of the world register. This is very important. This is current affairs. I have discussed previously on the same platform in current affairs the memory of the world register, Panch Tantra, Natya Shastra, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and therefore memory of the world register is directly quoted in this book itself, so becomes important for the examination. Then the Sangeet Ratnakar by Sarangadeva, the vocal instruments, the music instruments, dance, all are talked about, and Abhinay Darpan of Nandikeshwara at the same time of the Sangeeta Ratnakar, all are mentioned. So all three personalities, two personalities which we have been seen in the 6th and 7th class NCERT, along with Sarangadeva, now all three personalities are talked about. You can get a direct question out of this in prelims, and you can get a mains question also out of them, because what are the texts which basically talk about dance and drama in the Indian subcontinent? This is a very important slide, very important table out of the NCERT itself. Further, in this version, the 8th class version, we get write-ups on all the 8 classical dances, knowing their states: Tamil Nadu, UP, then you have Kerala, then Kuchipudi, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, Manipur, then Kerala, then Odisha, and then Assam. All helps. All helps. This is a standard question which can be asked. But we also have certain, you can say, smaller texts and information about them in this. So, for example, Bharatnatyam, whatever I'm underlining is important for the examination. You can get direct questions, statement based questions in the exam out of this. Bharatanatyam, Tamil Nadu, no issues whatsoever. Then graceful movement, strong footwork, hand gestures. Important in the larger scheme of things. Then it has many traditions. For example, you have the Bharatanatyam of the Shandavur, the Pandalur, the Vazavur, and the different styles, including Mysuru style. There is the dancers stand in specific half sitting position, which is called bent knee, which is called the diamond shape in that regard. We have discussed this in class also. This is a very well known aspect. Bharatanatyam, bent knee is a standard thing. Then, Kathak, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, intricate foot movement, graceful movement itself. We've discussed the most important proper and Shambhu Maharaj and Birju Maharaj in the last video itself. And they talk about the gharanas of Kathak. They were of the Lucknow gharana, Lucknow, Jaipur, Banaras, Raigad. And this can now be asked in the examination. They stand tall in what is called as the Samasantha, and anarkali lehengas dupattas are very common. This is which is basically the concept of Persianized costume which is used in Kathak itself. We discuss this again in class, nothing new but interesting that way. Then Kathakali, Kerala, we know facial expression, we know the very heavy costumes and makeup which they do, but there are two styles of this. In northern style is called Vadakam, southern style is called Thikkan. And the basic stance in Kathakali is called as the Anti Mandala. Now the dancers wear bright costumes, heavy makeup, and this is what you should remember for the examination. Then Kuchipudi from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, the Kuselwas of Andhra Pradesh, the way they used to go around in different villages dancing, that is got, in a way, you can say, crystallized into what is called as Kuchipudi. Here you have reference to rich dance drama tradition, the integration of spoken word into the dance itself. It is based on basic stances called Bharatnatyam Aramandi, and the special drape is called as Gochi Kathu, wearing temple jewelry. So again, interesting. Whatever is underlined is important. Can be asked a statement based question. Traditionally, it was performed by men. Now it is performed by both men and women. Then Manipuri dance, obviously Manipur, northeastern state, and Ras Leela of Lord Krishna, again very well known understanding here. And you have the reference to the poloi dress, which is this very iconic Manipuri skirt, and the dhoti and the turban. Along with that, how it is linked to the Sankirtan tradition, devotional music tradition of this sector. Then you have Mohiniyattam again from Kerala, linked to the dance of the enchantress. And this is where very subtle movement, very graceful movement, because enchantment is the idea here. Different levels are there. Kasavu Sadi is what it is known for. We also discuss this in class as much as we're doing it here. Last two, Odissi and Sattriya. Odissi is Odisha. We know that, and we discussed this in the last session. Mahari community was the one which used to provide, which used to dance. Once Vaishnavism came through into the Odisha sector, then Gotipuas, which is small boys were actually dressed up as dancers, and they used to then dance in the name of Lord Vishnu. And the three bhanga position is intricate to the Odissi dance itself. Very important understanding here, because Odissi is the origin of the Tribhanga position in that regard. Traditional costumes include a headpiece, which is this one, which is called as the Tahiya. And then Satariya, coming from the Satras of Assam. Again, Vaishnavism, when it percolated into Assam itself, it produced what are called Satras. The dance of the Satras is Satariya. The monks who used to dance initially, male monks were called Bhokots, and it is known for its specific, you can say, costume, the dhoti, also the gamucha, and the dancer train in 64 basic exercises, which is called as the Mati Khora. Now, obviously, you will not be able to digest all of this information in one go. Learn one dance each day. When you will join me for Elevate batch and we will do art and culture, I will give you more tricks to learn this. Simple, straightforward. We now have a repository. You don't have to go to CCRT. You don't have to go to Nitin Singhania. You just can read it out of this NCRT. I have given you the information. Just take it out and create one creative for this. Very interesting that ways. Then we also have 8 major personalities linked to each of these dance given examples. Don't have to know it per se. It is very difficult to remember their names over and above everything. But this is a very interesting set of men and women who basically have kept all of these traditions alive in the larger scheme of things. So therefore, the 8 classical dances and everything else together, this becomes an important understanding, Odissi and Satariya. Then it talks about folk dances also. In that, there is a specific reference to Ao Naga tribe from the Nagaland in the Motsou Mong festival. How the Ao Naga tribe has a very, very rich tradition of clothing and expressing what is called as the dance, drama, and how nature performs through them in that regard. There's also reference to the Sumi tribe, the Sumi war dance, which is equally important. Then there is a difference to the Lotha women who perform it, and there is also mentions to the Sangtham ward dance, Hornbill dance, Changlo, butterfly dance, all done in the Nagaland sector. 30 traditional dances are there. All have been discussed and shown here also. Very interesting that ways. We now have a repository of northeastern festivals and dances becomes important in the larger scheme of things. Then for Chhattisgarh, we have reference to what is called as the Bastar band dance or the Bastar dance itself, which is called the Pahi or Panthi dance of the Satnami community of Chhattisgarh, and how they perform this dance generally. So important again, we get reference to Chhattisgarh and its traditional dance structures. So as you can see, this one is more extensive, it has more details, but again, it is just one liner details which you need to add to your repository. But interesting, because now that there's reference to these over and above everything which you have to remember, this is something which you have to remember for the examination. Then martial arts is also now mentioned in this NCERT. Two of them. First is Kalripat and Thangta. Thangka is painting, Thangta is, or Sarit Sarak is Manipur, what we call as martial arts. Remember, martial arts use some form of dance movements. That is why they're talking about Kalripat coming out of Kerala. Kalaripat, when the Kalari is the place where they perform this, the gymnasium in which they perform it, developed as self defense understanding, even as Ayurveda inside it. 600 to 300 BC, Sangam period, it was established. Thangta, on the other hand, is Sarit Sarak is the unmanned, Thangta is the manned, or rather, Sarit Sarak is the without the weapons, and Thangta is with weapons. So unarmed and armed in that regard. Meitei community perform Thangta, important concept and very well preserved because of integration into school curricula, and very good it is represented in these NCRTs. Remember this point very clearly. There are others also, Silamban, there are multiple other martial arts, but two martial arts are mentioned directly in context of dance. Kalripat, Thangta. Thangta is, remember, armed. Sarit Sarak is unarmed, same thing only. Now, there is also mentioned to then three very important personalities. First, Acharya Parvati Kumar, Parvati Kumar, who is a pioneer in dance and known for how he made everything so extensively best. Then we have reference to Chandralekha, one of the earliest dancers of Indian dance, yoga, and Kalripat tradition philosophy. Then you also have reference to Kumudini Lakhia, a very famous Kathak dancer. She was in the news recently because she recently died, and she's known to have even choreographed Kathak performances within the movie tradition and cinema tradition also. That was interesting. So you have these three personalities mentioned. The probability of this coming is much lower than what we've discussed before this. Now, in this, there is also mentioned to in visual arts, one very interesting thing is called a cave painting or mural tradition. Mural tradition. And it shows us a very interesting, though animated understanding on how the Shadhanga, which refers to the six limbs of art, are codified in the ancient Indian text Vishnu Dharmotrat Purana, and how they also wanted to represent these forms onto the different, you can say, walls of the caves also. This is mentioned, and the six different what we call as limbs of arts, which is Rupa, Pramani, Bhava, Lavya, Sadrishna, and Varni Kambhanga, all are mentioned here. But again, this is where you have to remember the term. I know that this session has been more term heavy because multiple terms are there, but I'll tell you what to do with this information in a very simple manner. See, out of all of this, obviously you have to learn the scripts because these terms are important. Second, you remember Bhartendu Harishchandra, TP Kalasam. Then you remember the names of the Bhakti saints and Sufi saints which are mentioned directly. Then this is very important. In the gradation of everything, the temples which represent music and the examples is very, very important. Then this obviously is a very important slide because it has direct information which can be asked in match the following. You obviously have to remember each of these dance forms. These are the three things which I want you to concentrate on. After that, anything else, be it the eight classical dances, folk dances, if you can remember, you are sorted, your work is done. So I hope that in this session also you were able to get valuable information which is important in these 20 chapters are there. Not everything is important. It is a school book which tries to teach students what to do. Just take out the information, keep it with you. I am doing this for your satisfaction so that you don't have any problem in basically understanding these things or also get caught up in close to 80 chapters. So the idea was we do it in such a way that in close to 30 minutes you cover the book itself the way it is meant to be covered in that regard. So I would like to thank you for coming to the session. If you want more sessions like this, some other NCRTs, even Tamil Nadu board, if you want me to cover Tamil Nadu board in this platform itself, you have to comment Tamil Nadu board. If there are a certain number of students who mention that, yes, sir, we would like you to do Tamil Nadu board coverage, I will do that also. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.